Welcome to Project 3. In Project 3, as you can see, you're going to play Guess the Number. What are we going to do this project? We're going to use the greater and less than comparison operators. We're going to introduce a while loop. We're going to do some look good stuff in your code using an indent code. We're going to use the not equal conditional variable. Of course, we're going to go through the initializing variables. And we're going to create a rand function to use a random number, which is not really random, but we'll get into that. And we're going to seed the random function. And we're going to limit its span by using the percent operator, also called the modulo operator. If you were to construct a flowchart to show how this program works, you would have a command that selects a random number, then a command that gets the user to try and guess the random number. This is what we operate. Condition: is the guess too high? Yes. Then you tell that it's too high. No. Then you come here to this condition: is the guess too low? If it's too low, you tell the user it's too low. Then it goes back through the loop. This is a loop we're creating. Okay, and then finally, if they guess it right, then the next one is they tell the user they guess it right. So that's what your code's going to look like. Lab 1, we're setting up our console project, declaring two variables, testing the first if command in our project. So now we open up C++. We go File, Open Project Solution. Then we go to Desktop, or I got mine is anyway. Come down to Class, New Folder, Resources, and guess the number. And guess the number, VC Proj, and I click Open. So now I'm going to first line of guess the number. What I do is I type the comment, guess the number. You put your name. Go enter a couple, then I put 2 lines under that. And I'm going to put the comment in here. Include the libraries. Then on the next line, I'm going to put in my IOStream library. Remember, this one does not take a semicolon at the end. You're going to add another library later on in this project. So 2 lines under this comment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the comment, use a standard namespace. Okay. So the command here is using namespace std . Semicolon. I put a couple lines and then I put void main. Remember, I have a couple empty parentheses here. So I go down there and I put in my curly bracket, a couple spaces, and I put in my ending curly bracket. Now I'm going to declare my variables. So I want to make sure that I'm going inside those 2 brackets. But I'm going to go in my starter code text and I'm going to copy the line int variable name. There we go. Control C for copy. Come back here. Control V for int variable name. Oh, I'm going to make a space here and put in the comment, declare the variables. So I'm going to paste it again. So now I'm going to change my variable name to secret number. Just double click it. We can't have a space. So that's my first interval. Now my second variable declaration, I'm going to change it to guess. So now I'm going to assign a value to secret number so that you can test your program in small parts as you work on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click between the secret number and the semicolon and put a value in there. I'm going to put 5 in there. Now I'm going to add the sin and coot commands. So I'm going to add the code that's going to get the user's guess and store it in the variable guess. So I'm going to copy the cout command, the coot command. This command is going to appear on the screen, right? So I right-click copy. So where's this going to go? This is going to go after my variables, but before the closing bracket. So I'm going to right-click paste. And, okay. On this new line, I'm going to get the put the comment, get the user's guess. So I'm going to change, this will appear on screen to guess the secret number. So obviously now that I've got a C out code, we got to put the C in code because he's going to put in the secret number, right? So let's go get a C in code. Just going to type it, C in. What are you putting in? You're going to put in the variable guess. The semicolon. So now I got to go into the starter code here and grab my if statement. So I go to starter code, and I go if this thing all the way to the closing bracket. Got to get that closing bracket. Copy. So now I come back to the code. I come down a line, click enter. I put my note here. If the user gets the right number, congratulate him. So I just paste the code, Control V. So I'm going to change this thing to guess. And I'm going to change 1 to secret number. So now I'm going to take out this comment. And I'm going to put in a cout comment. Good job. You guessed the secret number. I've got my end line and a semicolon. All right, well, let's double check some things here before we run our, we try and compile this. Okay, we're debugging it. Do I have a semicolon at the end of my lines here? There's a semicolon. Semicolons, good, good. Come up to the top, double check. Here we go. Is it red? It's not red, we're dead, right? Here, get this guess secret number. And this. Okay, now I check for my, are these going the right direction? C out goes this way. C in goes that way. Good. Double check to make sure this is capitalized, that's capitalized, this is capitalized, capitalized, that's capitalized, capitalized. Okay. Now let's run our debugger. Now debug. Click start debugging. Go yet. Yes. This is guess the secret number. We got it set as 5, so I'm gonna put 5 in here. So put 5. It said good job, you got it. So we did it right. So what do you do if it isn't right? What you do is you pull up the instructions. You check your code against theirs. So you just check your code on their code and see where you got it wrong. Just follow the instructions here. They'll tell you where it's easy to find your bugs. Okay, just fix it, and then you'll find your bug and it'll work. Okay. Okay, in Lab 2 we learn about the conditional greater and less than operators. We add 2 if statements that use them, and then the program will be able to tell the user now if they guess too low or too high. So what's a conditional statement? Statement tells a computer, if this statement is something is true, do this. That's all it is. You know, if you give me $5, I will give you a computer game. If is a condition, and then you'll get the result if you comply with the if. That's a conditional statement. Okay, in this particular project, we're using the greater than and less than symbol. The smaller point, the smaller part of the operator points to the smaller object, if that helps you. Okay, this is the smaller part here, and that's the smaller part here. This is the less than symbol, that's the greater than symbol. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my if statement and copy it. So I go all the way from the beginning to the end. I right click copy. Then I come back after my interval where I've declared my variables, and I give me a couple lines. I paste it. Then I paste it again. All right, now I'm going to go on my comment. If the guess is too high, tell the user. So now I've got my code in here, so I just changed that. So if the guess is higher than the secret number, the greater than symbol, right? And then what am I going to tell them? Your guess is too high. So obviously the next one is too low. So I'm going to do the less than symbol here, and I'll put in here your guess is too low. So now we're ready to check our work again. Now once again, I want to, before I run my debugger, I want to make sure that I've got everything all right. I want to make sure that my comments are between the quotation marks. I want to make sure I didn't copy over any particular number, that I got this right. Now I'm going to go run my debugger. Click yes. Okay, there's a problem here, but this problem is built in. we have not initialized a variable called guess. We have to give it some kind of value. So I'm just going to close this out, and I'm going to give it a number. I'm going to give it a value of 0. I'll pull this down. So here I have to give guess a value. So I'm going to go equals 0. You know, that you usually see it's an empty container without a number in it. If you compare the numbers to each other, guess has to have something in there. So that's how you do it. So I debug again. I click debug, continue. Your guess is too low. So I put in a 5. It says I got the right number. So that's what you do. So you have to initialize the variable guess to 0. So you're not going to work here. When it compares the two numbers down here, you have to have something in guess to be equal to the secret number. It worked before because we called guess 5 when we put in our first variable. In lab 3, we're going to do loops, and we're going to make our program repeat code. So we're going to keep the user guessing until they get the right answer. A loop is just a code that repeats over and over again. So here they have the snooze button for alarm clock. You know, once you hit it 3 times, you can get out of bed. It doesn't work like that for me, but you know, hey, it's an example, right? A while loop is a loop that happens till something is true. So this says as long as this is false, as long as guess and secret number are different, you keep on having to repeat this. You keep on having to go back through this code until what's on the left is what's on the right. It says as long as what's on the left is not what's on the right, they keep on repeating. That's what that means. So now I'm going to copy my while loop. So I'm going to go back into the starter code text. I come down to my while loop, and I'll repeat this. Right-click copy. I'll come back to guess the number, and I'll come after my variable declarations here, where my secret number and guess are. I click enter a couple times, and then I just paste it in there. So now watch this next thing that I do. It's really kind of tricky. I can grab this, and actually I'm going to cut it. I'm going to do a Control X, and I can come all the way down my code till I get to the last curly brace there, and I'm going to add it right here. So I'm going to make my indentations. Indent this. Now I'm going to indent everything in between. So I'm going to drag down here, and I'm just going to click Increase Indent. Okay. One more time. So why am I doing this? This code, you'll be able to tell what's inside that while loop. Once again, this indentation business is just for you so that you don't get lost inside your code. So this is what we use when we want to indent a whole lot of code at once. Increase indent and decrease indent. Next thing we're going to introduce is a new conditional operator. Remember we had the double equal sign? Well, this is kind of like the opposite of the double equal sign. You're saying if what's on the left of the guess is not equal to the secret number. It's not the same. This container contains something different from this container. But I have something in it. Remember, it didn't work when you didn't have any number in there at all. 0 is a number. So in our code, we're going to keep on looping until what's on the left is equal to what's on the right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to while something. What's the variable we're using? The variable here is going to be guess, right? Well, guess. And it's not going to be equal, right? We have identity, we're going to have not identity. And what are we looking for? As long as it's not equal to secret number. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my debugger again. Go yes. So I'm going to put in my 3 here. I'm going to put in my 7. And then I'm going to put in my 5. Now mine worked, but the reason mine worked this time is because I initialized. Remember, I set my guess to equal 0. Now, maybe your code worked last time, it didn't work this time. Well, if it didn't work this time, what you still have to do is you have to initialize guess to 0. This is what it looks like. And you can see with our variable here, guess having nothing in the container guess. So we have 5 in this container secret number. But if you have nothing, you can't compare. This will never equal to that because there's nothing in here. And the first time it hits here, it comes to a screeching halt. It says, hey, I can't do anything with this. So you got to put is guess equals 0 in there. That's what they mean by initialization. It has to have some kind of value in there. So when we're starting out something, we usually give it a variable here, 0. And that'll not change because you have to have something in that container to start off the code. Because even before the user puts something in there, it's got to have something in there to work. And usually programmers put in 0, okay? So if you haven't put that equals 0 in there, now's the time to put it in. Your code ought to work. You go do your debug again and it should work. If your code doesn't work, what you do once again is you check it with the example and just do the different things. Check out what they have with what you have and fix it till it works, okay? In lab 4, we're going to learn about how computer programmers work with random numbers. So by the end of this lab, the program's going to choose the secret number between 1 and 100 each time you run it. A random number is a number chosen without using any kind of a system. Random numbers you can't predict. But you can't do that with computers, so you got to use a system. And we do different things to solve this problem. The first thing we do is we use what's called a rand function. It creates a number which is, well, kind of close to random. It works by keeping a list of unrelated numbers. It grabs the next number on the list every time it's chosen. It's close enough to random, so we add the random function to our program. Now I'm going to replace this 5 over here where the secret number equals 5. I'm going to put where the 5 used to be, I'm going to put rand. Don't erase that semicolon. Now the rand function is going to store a number from its list in the variable secret function. So I'm going to run my debugger. So my secret number was 41. Once again, if it doesn't work, check it against the example. But the only thing you changed was one thing, so it's got to be the one thing. Make sure that you didn't type over something. Okay. Now the problem with the rand functions list is that every time I run this program now, it's going to come up with 41. It's going to come up with the same number in the list. So how are you going to fix this problem? What we're going to use is the srand function. The srand function looks for a spot on the random functions list of numbers, and we're going to use something called time. We're going to use the time to pull up a random place, and actually it's not random, it's whatever time of day it is. And we're going to put that as where to pull it from in the list. So it chooses a spot from the list based on the exact time of day. And that's called a seeding the rand function, srand. So we're going to use the srand function so the secret number is chosen from a different spot each time. To use the time function, we need to have a new library. So let me scroll up. I'm going to add the library here. Pound include. And what's the library I'm going to put in here? It's called ctime. So now I'm going to get my seed function. So I'm going to go up here to my starter code page. Now I'm going to go for my srand time. I'm going to copy it. I go back to guess here. And I'm going to go before my variables are declared. Put a couple empty spaces here. And I'm going to put seed the random number. And I'll put my code right here. So now I'm going to check my code. I'm going to debug it. I'm going to go 50, 100, 500, 1,000. Oh, 1,000, I guess. All right, 5,000. Whoa, 50,000. I guess 7,500. Okay. 6,000. Okay. 5,500. $5,206. 5,207. 5,208. As you can see, that was a very large number. We're going to learn how to fix this. We're going to use the modulo operator. We're going to use the percentage sign. Okay, the modulo operator is looking for a remainder. So if it's dividing 5 by 2, for instance, it's not looking for the result, it's looking for the remainder. So if I'm looking for 11 divided by 3, I get a remainder of 2. If I'm looking for 15 divided by 5, I get nothing for a remainder. If I divide 7 by 4, I get 3 for a remainder. This is what it's pulling. And what it's pulling is that you want a certain amount of results. So if I wanted 4 results, I divide it by 4. And I might get 0, 1, 2, and 3 as my remainders. So we're going to use our modulo operator to get us a number that is between 1 and 100. So what we're asking our computer to do is to divide a random number by 10 and store the remainder in rand. So that would give you 10 results. So now I'm back in my code. I'm going to come up to where I declare my secret number. There we go. It's equal to rand. I'm going to put my modulo 100%, 100 here. So I click in my modulo and I put in 100. So now that I do this, I'm going to get a number between 0 and 99. But I want it between 1 and 100. So the only thing I have to do is just add 1 to this. So instead of having 0 to 99, I can go plus 1. Then I get 1 to 100. Oops, bad Hadley. Here you go. So make sure this reads int secret number equals rand parentheses modulo 100 plus 1. And put some spaces between your operators. So now I run my program. I just go debug. Start debugging. Go yes. So I'm going to guess the secret number. I'll put in 50. Too high. Do 25. Too low. Put 30. Too high. 26. Too low. Okay, 27. 28. It was 28. So now I go to the bottom and do my system pause. Not all caps had. Don't forget that old semicolon. Then you just check your work again. I go 50, 25, 20, 10, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, press any key to continue. That's all there is to it. You just save. You're gonna save it, and we're ready to run our exe and turn it into Miss Hadley. So here I am. I'm inside my debug. Right-click, guess the number, and just go 7-zip and add to guesses.